Welcome back. 6:30 now. Time for our KSAT Q&A. Joining us live is San Antonio Mayor Ron Nirenberg.
Mr. Mayor, always appreciate your time. I want to start with the question about the heat. It's what everybody's talking about. It's on everybody's mind. Your concerns right now, and do they go from not only the citizens of San Antonio and South Texas, but to the power grid?
Sure. Well, as you know, we've been making records lately with the heat wave that we've had in the heat dome. Just read today that we set a new record, the one that we broke last year with days over 105. So the heat is intense and it's dangerous. And we're making sure that folks know the signs of heat illness, heat exhaustion, heat stroke, making sure that they are aware of the importance of hydration. Also, the fact that we've got cooling centers, cooling locations all around town, 80 plus places where people can go to cool down. And if you don't have transportation to get there, call 311. We can get you. But it is dangerous heat. Of course, there's always the concern about the stability of the ERCOT grid, the state grid. CPS Energy continues to produce and provide electricity for folks around our city. But we do have responsibilities to the state grid if there are outages in other parts of the state. And with the demand at record levels going higher and higher, ERCOT has put out the message that people should be conserving where they can. So there is a level of anxiety that I know that people have. I would say that if it was all CPS's responsibility, we'd be okay. But we've got to make sure that folks around the state are also doing their part to produce the energy and also ensure that their customers are conserving where it's possible.
All right, but let's talk about some things that San Antonians and also city leaders can do to help this, because it's not just that it's super hot, it's the sustained, prolonged heat that,
Right.
If we're talking about heat-related illnesses, that would affect our hospitals. We're also talking about businesses. We've had food trucks, people that have small businesses that are suffering. We had a lady a few weeks ago she had an ice cream shop, couldn't even run it because it just wasn't cool enough in there. So what are city leaders prepared to do to help San Antonians, and what can you ask San Antonians to do to help the situation while we're here?
Yeah, well, number one, make sure that people know the signs of heat illness. That's number one, is just personal safety. And so that includes making those cooling centers available for folks who don't have a cool place to go. Libraries, splash pads, public pools, the places that the city offers, there's 80 around town. And if folks don't have a way to get there, we will come and get them in partnership with VIA. So there are ways of getting around town to ensure that they're in cooling locations. Now, with respect to resources to run businesses and to meet the demand for both energy and water, we're asking folks to be conscious of their use. Conserve where you can. During high energy peak periods where we get warned by ERCOT, we want folks, if they can, to set their thermostats a little higher. It's a little uncomfortable in my house during the evenings now, but we've got to do what we can to conserve and make sure that we can meet the demand, not just in San Antonio, but folks around the state. So we're going to do everything we can to meet the need here. And I think we are in good shape with the responsibility of our neighbors all around town. But again, everybody's got to be conscious and aware. And the most important thing, again, is to make sure that they're aware of the signs of heat illness. That includes heat exhaustion, heat stroke, and the importance of staying hydrated.
Yesterday, Mr. Mayor, when we're talking about all this, we talked to meteorologist Adam Caskey about it. I mean, is this the new normal? I mean, I know a lot of people don't want to talk about climate change. They don't want to acknowledge climate change. So we kind of left that off the board and just talked about the fact that this is the new normal. And so how, as a city, do you prepare for summers after summers like this?
And this may be, Stephanie, to get more direct to your question, the responsibilities of the city government and VIA, et cetera. We're doing work to make sure that we increase tree plantings. We've got an additional tranche of resources that council just voted on to increase tree canopy around town. One of VIA's top missions right now, among all, is to ensure that their bus shelters are providing some shade to make sure that people are out of the elements who are waiting for the bus. We've got a lot of work to do, not just in San Antonio, just around the country on the urban heat island effect. So we've got some pilot programs to test things like cooler pavement coatings. So there's a lot of work just on infrastructure, and the way we used to do things perhaps back in the 80s and 90s is not working anymore, simply because of the growth of the city, the amount of blacktop you see all over the state, including in San Antonio, and the fact that, the climate has changed. 105-degree days in a string, hitting a record after consecutive years of doing the same. This heat is intense. It's unrelenting, and it's not something that we've seen before. The temperature has markedly increased, and the meteorologists and the researchers tell us that, and it's evident in their research.
So as you see this problem, it's becoming a bigger problem. This year has been super hot. People are suffering. So then that would mean that the city government would also have to increase its budget when it comes to any issues regarding this particular issue. So I'm wondering, since you're in the midst of budget talks, what are your priorities and how much, and what are you doing? Are you going to add anything more as we fight climate change to your budget?
Sure. One of the things that we did was really kind of redirect some funds that were already coming into the city last year. We created a resiliency and environmental sustainability fund, the REASE fund, that is essentially revenue that was being generated through CPS. And so we have roughly $10 million a year now going to pilot and implement certain measures to reduce the urban heat island. I mentioned a couple of them, but we're also going to be testing some innovations as well for that. One of my colleagues has just put forward a proposal for green alleyways. We've got some infrastructure work going on in alleyways across the city. How can we use that as an opportunity to reduce urban heat island effect? But to be honest, Stephanie, the priorities of the budget this year include improving public safety, improving infrastructure. We've just got to change the way we do things all across the country. And with respect to infrastructure, we've got to make it more resilient. We've got to pay closer attention to increasing and preserving green space, which also reduces that urban heat island effect. So it's really a change in the way we think about how we build cities these days in light of what we've seen through the changing climate.
As we're talking about the budget, I'm going to kind of make a segue from climate and kind of some of the things we're doing to public safety. I know that they're in the budget. You have asked, and I think there seems to be an effort to increase the police force, to hire more officers. And San Antonio seems to be, we've seen it in polling. San Antonio wants accountability for our police force, but they also support the police force.
Right.
How many officers are you talking about? And is that sustainable past year one? I know that a lot of federal dollars are going to be used to add some of these officers. Can we still pay for that down the line, though, when those federal dollars aren't there?
Well, public safety is job number one for any city government, and so will remain that way. And that we hope we get some relief from the federal grants that we receive. But in the event that that doesn't happen, we're going to continue with the priority being public safety. Let me tell you, we are working with UTSA and doing some analysis of staffing levels. And they have recommended that over the course of about 3 to 5 years, we're going to add about 360 officers to the patrol division. And the purpose for that is to change the ratio of proactive to reactive patrolling that happens in the city. Right now, we're about 40% proactive to 60% reactive, meaning that 60% of the time that an officer's on the street, he or she is actively responding to a call. We're going to flip that ratio. And in order to do that, obviously, we need more personnel in patrol. So we're going to start that effort in a big way this year. We've got another 100 officer positions that we're putting into this year's budget. The city council will hear the first presentation on the proposed budget on Thursday. It'll start the process to go through public town halls. So if you're interested in this part of the budget or anything else, please go to one of those town halls and let us know your thoughts. But, that's one element of policing. There are other elements of public safety that we're also analyzing right now. We'll make some augments to the budget in light of those results when they come in as well.
Mr. Mayor, we have to wrap up, but I'd be remiss not to ask you this question. So I looked it up. It is almost about 20 degrees cooler in D.C. right now. You've been to D.C., so you know the scuttlebutt around town is that you're being courted by the Biden administration. Can we have a response to that? And if they offer you a position, will you take it?
So number one, I don't pay attention to any of the speculation. Number two, the only reason I got into politics and public service is because I love this city and I want to devote my time to making it the greatest city in the world. And so that's where my focus will be. I have no plans to be anywhere but San Antonio over the next 2 years.
Budgets, Biden, climate change. I think we covered a lot today, Mr. Mayor. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And birds up and go Spurs go.
There you go. We'll be
Keep up to date with all of San Antonio's top news, weather, and so much more by clicking the like and subscribe buttons below. And once again, thanks for watching KSAT.